Hey you guys, as we are closing in on 2021, I thought that now would just be a wonderful time for us to talk about what it looks like to reflect on the year that we just had and how we can posture our hearts for a wonderful new year. So today we are going to look at 10 questions to ask yourself in order to reflect on this past year and get ready for a wonderful brand new year. All right, you guys, it is so great to be back with you as always. And if this is your first time at the Honestly Rebecca YouTube channel, welcome. We are so glad that you're here. We are all about creating the kind of abundant life that God has for us. So if that's what you're into, be sure to hit the subscribe button below so you can be sure never to miss a brand new episode from Honestly Rebecca. Today, we are going to be looking at 10 questions that you can ask yourself in order to reflect on this past year and prepare yourself for a wonderful new year ahead. And as we dive into these questions, I just want to make sure to let you know as well that down in the description, you can actually find a printable version of this question list that's also going to have some lines on it for you to be able to write down some notes and really spend some time in reflection. This printable is completely free, just a resource that I wanted to get out of my hands and into yours. You know, as I spent some time preparing for this video today, I just really felt like that these questions all put together were going to be, a wonderful way for us to look back, see what God has done this year, see some areas we've grown in, ask ourselves some important questions so that we walk away really knowing, this year may have been difficult, but it was still good in its own way and there were still some good things to come out of it. So definitely check out that printable. I think that you'll find it really helpful. I hope it helps you out. And all of this is really in preparation for next week's video. Next Tuesday, we are going to be talking about how to set some good, achievable goals for the new year. I'm not really a resolution person, but I am all about setting a vision and setting achievable goals. So be sure to mark your calendar. We're going to be talking about that next Tuesday. So I've got my list right here, and let's dive into some of these. The first thing on this list is, what are 3 new things that I'm grateful for from this year? We can all list things like our family, for God's provision of food, or for a roof over our heads, but maybe there's some new things in your life. What's something specific from this year that you are grateful to God for? What's an area that, maybe you didn't expect that He came through with provision in? Or, what's something brand new that happened? For me and for Victor, obviously we just have so much gratefulness in our hearts for this brand new baby that we're going to be welcoming into the world. That is something huge for us to be grateful for. So just take a few minutes and ponder that. And if your list is longer than 3, that is fantastic. We all have so many things to be thankful for. And if you can't think of anything, some people have had a much more difficult year than others. Just start with the breath in your lungs. If you're watching this, you're here and you're breathing, you have some sort of a means to watch this, so that's a great place to start. We can just be grateful that we woke up this morning. God has a plan and a purpose for you. If you woke up this morning, if you're breathing right now, if you're watching this, this is for you and you are here, and that is something to be grateful for. So a second thing to ask yourself is, what was my favorite part of this year? Again, it was a really weird year for all of us, but I'm sure that there was something that was, maybe particularly unique that you can say, that was my favorite part of this year. For me, I have to say, I've enjoyed being able just to really focus on my family this year. Victor and I are privileged that both of our families live in town, and we've been able to stay in touch with them throughout this whole time. So between Victor and I expecting, us being able to spend extra time with our families, Victor working from home, it's just been a wonderful year for family, and I think that probably has been my favorite part. So whether it's some big moment that you had or just a running theme throughout your year, just take a few minutes to reflect on maybe what your favorite thing to come out of this year was. And then the third thing that we have on this list is, what is a big goal that you accomplished this year? You know, looking back to the beginning of 2020, we had no idea what the year would hold, but we all probably had some goals that we set for ourselves this year. What are some of those goals or a goal that you were able to achieve? It can be a really big goal like graduating, finishing school, or it can even be something that, maybe seems a little bit smaller but was a big deal to you, like finishing a certain number of books in a year, or taking better care of yourself, getting in the gym some, eating healthier. Whatever it is for you, just take some time to reflect on, okay, what was a goal that I set for myself that I was able to achieve? Whatever goal that was, give yourself a pat on the back. It is fantastic that you were able to achieve some goals this year. And again, if you're having a hard time thinking of one, just take a few minutes to reflect. Sometimes the goals we achieve aren't as obvious, but take a few minutes to reflect and think about what was something that I wanted to accomplish that I brought to fruition. You brought it over that finish line. Whatever that is for you, just take a few minutes to write that down on the template or maybe in a journal, or just think about it and be grateful to God that He gave you exactly what you needed to get through and accomplish that goal. And the fourth question that you can ask yourself here is, what milestone did I reach? This is kind of similar to the goal one, but a little bit different. It could be as simple as you reached a new birthday. You're 25 now, or you just turned 18. That's fantastic. Maybe you graduated high school or you graduated college. Maybe you quit a job or started a new job. You never know. Whatever it is for you, just take a few minutes and look back at the year and say, hey, okay, what was a milestone for me? What was something that set this year apart, or something that you can mark almost to the day and say, at this point moving forward, my life was different. And a milestone for you may not be quite as tangible, but maybe this year was the year that you let go of a certain fear or a certain insecurity. Maybe this was the year that you decided to take your health seriously. Whatever it is, whatever that milestone was for you, take a few minutes to reflect on that as well. And then the number 5 question that you can ask yourself is, who did I grow closer to this year? This is such a fun one to think about, because a lot of times our relationships with people develop slowly over time, and we don't even remember the time when we weren't close to a person. But think back to the beginning of 2020 and look at where you are now and see, who did I grow closer to this year? Who is it in my life that, has been there for me? I've been able to be there for them, that you feel like that God has put in your life to grow closer to and to grow alongside. The reason this is such a good question to ask yourself is because it puts you in a place of considering what relationships you want to continue to grow. Maybe there's some relationships that you need to let go of. Whatever it may be, take a few minutes to reflect on the relationships that you've built this year, and maybe ones as well that you've kind of seen let go. Sometimes that can be hard to look at, but we go through different seasons in our lives where people come and go. So it's important for us to take a minute to reflect on, who are the people that God has put in my life now? Who are the people that are walking alongside me now in this season, so you can pour into and invest in those godly, good relationships. The number 6 thing to ask yourself is, what did I learn this year? So when we talk about what did I learn this year, what's a new skill that you took up? What is a book that you read that you were able to gain a lot from? What sort of topic did you gain more understanding and knowledge about? For myself, I have learned a lot this year about being a small business owner. That has been such a great journey for me to take this year, and I still have so much to learn, but I'm grateful to say that I've had a few great women in my life that I've been able to learn from who also have small businesses, and it's really been a great time for me to learn some different skills in how to work with clients, to learn some different financial business skills. So what is it for you that you have learned this year? What is it that you can walk away and say, you know what, I didn't know that at the beginning of the year, but I certainly do now. Maybe just take a few minutes, write that down, and if there's more than one thing, that is fantastic. We should always all be learning and growing. So just take a few minutes and reflect on that question. And then the next question to ask yourself is, what did I learn about myself? This one will probably take a little bit deeper reflection, but it's so important for us to take a look at that from time to time, because as we go throughout our lives, we begin to realize different pieces of ourselves, or honestly, even remember things about ourselves that maybe we had in us at childhood, but we lost somewhere along the way, and we rediscover parts of ourselves. And especially the way that this year has been, it's given us all a unique opportunity to spend some extra time with ourselves. And it's been difficult in some ways that may have pushed us to a different limit than we ever knew that we could be pushed to, and that kind of has a way of bringing out different aspects of ourselves. The reason this is so great is because the more we learn about ourselves, the more we can begin to walk in who it is that God has created us to be. And the number 8 question to reflect on for this year is, how did I take care of myself? Again, with 2020 being so unique, we all had a little bit of extra space to maybe rest, or at least be with ourselves in a little bit more quiet than normal. So we had a chance to maybe take care of ourselves a little bit more, hopefully. And maybe that looks like, working out more, or eating a little bit healthier, or maybe it looks like spending some more quiet time. I know it did for me. It looks like spending some more quiet time in the morning. Or maybe it looks like getting your nails done, or doing your nails yourself, or taking up a hobby that you really enjoy. Whatever it is, maybe just take a few minutes to reflect on what those ways are that you really were able to take care of yourself this year, and how did that affect you. And the reason why this is so good to reflect on is because that then sets us up to be able to continue some of those good habits of taking care of ourselves into the new year. God wants us to be good stewards of ourselves. He has given us this one body, this one life to live, and He wants us to be healthy and whole, and to take our physical, our mental, and our spiritual health seriously. So the second to last question to reflect on this list is, what was something unexpected that happened this year? When we reach the end of the year and we look back on it, we already know everything that has happened, but there was a moment in there where we had no idea what was going to happen this year. So what was a moment that was unexpected? It may be good or it may be bad, but either way, it might have set the trajectory for your year, or perhaps even for your life. What was a moment that maybe took you by surprise? And as you reflect on that, you don't have to just stop with what that specific moment was, but how did that affect you? How did you deal with it? What has come out of that since then? When we approach a new year, we often set goals and visions for ourselves, but something can come in and change things on a dime, and then we kind of have to recalibrate. Obviously, that sort of happened for all of us this year in 2020. But for each of us individually, different things have affected us in different ways. And then we've all probably had our own other unexpected moments, besides just the big ones that have hit us all this year. So take a few minutes to reflect on those unexpected moments, and even search for God in those, and ask God, hey, where were you in this? Or take a look at how He has worked things out for you since then. And the 10th and final question to reflect on as the year comes to a close is, how did I grow spiritually this year? I always love to take a look at this one because it reminds me of how good God is. Sometimes He works in us so gently over time that it can, be kind of surprising to think back to the beginning of the year and say, wow, God has really brought me a long way in this area or another. God is always faithful when we put our trust in Him to sanctify us from glory to glory. He is never going to leave us where we're at. So take a look back on your year and say, man, God, you showed up for me in this area, this area, this area spiritually. Maybe reflect on what are some areas that God has given you freedom in, that He has healed you in, that He is giving you victory over. None of us have arrived, but that's the beautiful thing. There is always a spiritual area that we can grow in. The Holy Spirit continues to refine us every single step of the way. So just take a few minutes and really reflect on that with God, and look at what are some of the ways that you have grown this year spiritually. And as you do that, that may then set into motion some goals that you might have for yourself for next year. So that comes to the end of our list of 10 things to reflect on for this year as you prepare for a brand new year ahead. I hope that you found, these 10 points to reflect on helpful. And obviously we went through these pretty quickly. So I just encourage you, click the link in that description, get that printable guide for yourself, and let yourself really spend some time in reflection on the year so you can see how far God has brought you. And don't forget to mark your calendar, set a reminder for next week. We're going to be right back here talking about how we can set goals that are achievable and attainable for the new year ahead. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and we will be right back here tomorrow for another day of Vlogmas 2020 here on Honestly Rebecca. Until then, have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day.